She said that American soccer fans, most of them aren't smart. They don't know the game. They don't understand.
Gio.
That guy gazpacho.
Sports can take a lame gorilla, okay?
Advice, did you know that Arsenal died?
He's got me buzzing.
Up the toppies. It's hard to up them, but top them anyway.
All right. Let's get into the U.S. men's national team core. Named plenty of U.S. players here in this Wonder Grid. The U.S. men's national team will face off against Panama on Thursday in the Nations League semi-final. A pretty good roster. I don't think I have really strong opinions on people that should have been a part of it or not. I know Haji Wright was just coming back from injury after 3 months of being out. Ends up getting a hat trick. So maybe he's a shout to have been included. Serginho Dest just getting back from injury. He's not going to be included. That makes sense. But potentially some people leaving camp. Johnny Cardoso not going to be there for the team. He has a slight knock and is out for this camp. Austin Trusty has a knock. Not sure if he's going to be able to play. We have seen Jack McGlynn, Brian Gutierrez from the Chicago Fire to a hot start, and Arfston, the outside back, all at the U.S. training. So potentially they're being added to the roster, or they're just there to train with them while they're here in the U.S. Oh, boys, I think this is an interesting camp because this is the full roster. It's no longer the January camp. It's no longer the first
Competitive games.
time we're seeing, it's a competitive game, and we have a lot of players back. We have Tyler Adams back. We have a Gio Reyna back. You have Cameron Carter-Vickers for the first time this squad. I mean, listen, it's his first time in there. It's his first time in camp with Pochettino. You have Josh Sargent getting a chance after Balogun and Pepe's injuries. Diego Luna. I mean, there's a lot of new players in this, and a lot of players that are kind of mixing in here. We've seen different systems with Pochettino. We don't get the answer to the kind of one of the bigger questions with Serginho Dest and Jedi Robinson both being back. We don't get to see that. We get to see a lot about Gio Reyna, Musa, where he sees them. Like, what do you want to see in terms of system and starting wise here? Because there is a lot of tactical flexibility with so many players here, with Weah playing as a right back now at Juventus, and Musa playing out wide for the US, but also somewhat inside in that same role. It's a lot of tactical flexibility, but how do you see it now with all players at Pochettino's disposal?
Even though it's a competitive match, it's something we want to win and should win. I want to see him test things out. There's not very many international windows left before the World Cup. What is it?
Good point.
Less than a dozen now,
5
10 or so.
Five
after this? Wow.
Less than a dozen.
Yeah. I mean, we're
way less than a dozen, brother. It's next year.
Hey, he was correct, Nick. He was correct.
Woefully unaware of that. But he hasn't had some of these guys at his disposal, so we have to try things out. Johnny missing's huge because I think he would have started in the midfield next to Tyler. So figuring out, I think so. I would have played that as a double pivot with McKennie ahead of him, but that gives you a lot of options now. Playing Musa in that role where he's been playing for Milan, but he's also moved around quite a bit as well. McKennie in a deeper lying role lets you play Reyna or another attacking midfielder at the 10, which we haven't seen Poch really do yet. We saw Matilman a little bit in those previous camps, but he obviously didn't look great. And we saw Aronson there as well, but he's a much different style of player. So trying to work some of those things in. He brought a couple of new strikers in. Obviously, Josh Sargent is the name, but Ajimen had a really great camp. He's one of the players who stood out in those previous camps. So does he get a legit shot here? Brian White, I don't think so. I think he's just a body in camp, but maybe. The biggest question I really have, though, is goalkeeper. So Zach Steffen's back. He, once upon a time, was the number one option. And still should be in the consideration for that. Had a great game on the weekend, 12 saves. Yes, he's in MLS, but Matt Turner's riding bench at Crystal Palace. Has played 2 games all season. He's got to deserve something based on what he's done for the U.S. Sure, but a new coach, that competition, that door has to be wide open. That spot has to be up for grabs. You can only play one goalkeeper per match, but I expect Zach Steffen to make a claim for that spot again.
Yeah, man, I think that's one of the two biggest things that I think are questions with this squad, Nick, is goalkeeper, because you have Matt Turner, who's been good with the US, but he just isn't playing. And Zach Steffen, yeah, maybe at a lower level playing in MLS, but his distribution has been good, albeit, in MLS where maybe it's not as much pressure. And he made 12 fucking saves. I mean, that's absurd. I mean, he's coming in form, so does that maybe change things, shake things up for the goalie position? And what does that mean for Matt Turner and what he has to do? And then I think it's Gio Reyna. What is he going to be seen as? Because in the pre-match conference that Pochettino did, or after releasing the roster, he said it's important to get Gio Reyna in and mentioned that, yeah, he doesn't have a lot of time, but he has a lot of talent. And essentially saying we need to get him in now because we're not going to have him this summer because of that dumbass club World Cup thing. So if he's still with Dortmund, clubs get first dibs on the players. They can choose to not release them for Gold Cup or anything else, any other summer.
They would have.
I mean, they don't have to. It's up to the clubs. It's like the Olympics.
If I'm Gio, I terminate my contract if they don't release me.
I mean, that's the thing. Is Gio might be gone, but we're also going to be missing Weston McKennie and Tim Weah because they're with Juventus, which are also in that. So it's kind of stupid. But he said, Pochettino essentially said, yeah, we need to get a good look at Gio Reyna here, regardless of his playing time and his form, because we don't really know if we're going to have that chance in the summer. So he wants to get to know Gio Reyna. Does that mean he starts? Does it mean he plays in the system? He gets a real look at him in game time? Or do you think that's just training? I mean, what would you go for if you're Mauricio Pochettino coming to this game against Panama, where you're probably going to have a lot of possession? It's going to get maybe into one or two moments where Panama break down in their low block that you have a chance in. Is that calling out for Gio Reyna, or is it you stick with people that you've gone with maybe a Moose out in that wider position?
Listen, we've talked about it extensively on this pod, and yes, it has been a really rough year for Gio, or a really rough couple years, if we're being completely honest, at the club. At the club level, I should say. He is our probably most talented player. And yes, Pulisic's our best player, and it's not even close if we're being honest. But if we're talking pure talent, Gio might be number one, and I think I would say he is number one. And so I would definitely start him, and really that is the biggest thing I'm looking for from Poch, who I think has a bit of a reputation at the club level. I think he does a good job at the club level in the past of putting his best 11 players on the pitch. And I think we've seen that already a little bit in the camps that we've seen. Musa playing in that wide role, some guys playing in different areas. Yes, it's testing them out, but also he knows who his guys are. He knows who the talent is. He didn't just take this job and now is figuring it out. He obviously did extensive research beforehand and he knows who his players are. He has seen the highest level of football. He understands who his best 11 players are. And I'm really, really, really curious to see how he is able to fit in his best 11 players into whatever his system is going to be. Does that mean Tyler Adams is playing right back? Does that mean a guy like Johnny eventually, maybe it's a 5-back and Johnny's in the middle or something like that? Does that mean that Timmy Weah is at right back? Does that mean that we have Pulisic at the 10? I don't know. I don't know what is going to happen, but I'm really curious because I think he has a really good understanding of talent. I think that's super fair to say. I think even at Tottenham, he would play Eriksen out wide in order to get different guys on the field. Perisic as a fullback, even though he kind of transitioned to that after he played him there. I think we're going to see something that we haven't seen before, and I'm really curious how that is going to work. And if you are fitting your best 11 players on the field, Gio Reyna is undoubtedly one of them. And so what is his role going to look like? I expect him to play both games, if I'm being honest. I fully expect to see a lot of Gio. I fully expect to see a lot of our good players. We are under 12 international windows until the World Cup. In fact, really under 12, but 5 actually. Way under 12. So not many opportunities left. It's not cutting time. It's time to get serious, and that means the big boys come out and play.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pochettino doesn't really give a fuck about, well, how are people going to see this because he's not getting a lot of play time. He's just going to play who he needs to play and has the talent that can execute his plan. Gio Reyna,
you would think so.
Certainly, in a fluid attacking system, seems like he would be that player. I wonder how it all works because you do have a lot of options. You have Timmy Weah, who's played in the wing for the U.S., but now is playing a lot of right back. Do you maybe move him back to that right back position, Nick? See him at the right back. See what you do with Jedi Robinson, maybe in that more central place he was playing in the previous camp. And I mean, what do you do to fit in the talent? Because I don't think Joe Scally is one of the top 11 players overall. But do you still run with him because of the defensive structure he gives you, that he's an actual defender? And quite honestly, Mönchengladbach is doing very, very well with him right now starting. So how much tinkering do you do with that defense, and who are you starting in that back four and goalie?
I would start Scally. I'm a defender at heart. I don't love the Timmy Weah experience. I know it's gone well for Juve with that right back position, but I just don't see him as a natural 1v1 defender. And I think there's other guys to help kind of insulate Scally in the attacking side of the ball, especially on that right-hand side. So I would keep Scally there. I'm really curious what he does in the center backs. Does he go with the proven veteran Tim Ream, who obviously has done it for a really long time, has had really high peaks. I think he's kind of, plateauing out a little bit at this point in his career. Does he give hopefully Trusty gets healthy for that second game? McKenzie, who has flashed for this team before. Obviously, you're going to see Chris Richards. I don't love the Jedi in the middle either. He's incredibly valuable as our bombing left back, so I'd keep him there. But like I said, it has to be whoever he thinks the best players are. It's time to get serious, and it's time to see what you have and what changes need to be made.
Yeah, I mean, Jedi in the middle is also when Pulisic was at that 10 and kind of they were underlapping all over. An interesting way of playing there. Mike, in terms of the midfield, I mean, Nick talks about the options of, do you go with an older Tim Ream and Chris Richards and Mark Kent, and the different names there is one debate, but midfield might be the wildest because you don't really know exactly what the fuck Pochettino's thinking, because you're putting a Musa out wide potentially, you're putting him in the midfield. You have a Tyler Adams back, which he loved at Chelsea. He said that again in his interview, said, yeah, I love Tyler Adams. I tried to buy him at Chelsea, which he said 5 times now. So I think he's making it well known. He likes the man. So I think he might be a lock, but you also have a McKennie. You also have a Musa that's playing a lot. You've seen Pulisic at the 10. You have Gio Reyna back that can play the 10. I mean, Diego Luna, big cojones, as Pochettino says. Who do you think makes that starting lineup in the midfield?
I love some MMA, not mixed martial arts. McKennie, Musa, Adams. It's the trio that we've played the best ball in with this squad. I mean, think about that England game. Think about how much we bossed.
5 years
those
ago.
3 dudes. I mean, yeah, whatever it was, 2022. But they haven't had the chance to play together, all 3 of them, through injury or not getting selected, whatever it was, very often. And that is the best midfield. I think those 3 guys have to be on the field. Where you put them, that could vary a bit. Adams is definitely going to be one of the pivot guys. Musa is the most natural player to play there, but McKennie can do it as well. And if you play those 2 guys there, McKennie at the 10, it lets you play Reyna on the right wing, or you could put Musa at the right wing and you can let Reyna stay in the middle to play more of a 10 and have McKennie and Adams deep. I think any combination of those 3 guys, we need to see it. And then a combination where those 3 guys are on the field and then Reyna's also there, that makes the most sense to me. Nick mentioned about having the best 11 players on the pitch. Those 4 are certainly in the best 11. I think Tim Weah is definitely in the best 11 available for US when everybody's healthy. So he needs to be out there too. If that means playing him at right back, so be it. I think that's something I've wanted to see for a while. We've never seen it in the international scene. We saw fucking McKennie playing right back before we saw Weah there. So try it out. Maybe it does suck. Maybe Joe Scally is the better option there, but Weah offers a bunch of different attributes that Joe Scally cannot. Pace on the ball, delivering a ball into the box, all of those things. That's really what I want to see.
I still love the Tyler Adams right back, by the way, for what it's worth. I love the Tyler Adams right back.
a Premier League club's player of the month who's playing CDM and move him to right back, though?
If he's
Why
cool
not?
with it,
Why? Wait, why can't you? Sorry.
He'd have no problem with it. Tyler Adams.
He's playing amazing at the center defensive mid role in the exact way the team would need him at CDM, and then you're going to move him to right back just to accommodate who's going in there?
To accommodate a Musa and a McKennie, to accommodate Gio. If you're telling me, because I don't like Gio. I don't like Gio at right wing, or right mid, or whatever you want to call it. So if you're telling me you move Tyler Adams to right back to get Gio in the 10, I think that's amazing. I think that's a great thing.
But
it totally works with how Poch plays with possession too. Tyler slides.
Also
in the middle,
true. Yeah, Tyler isn't going to play in the midfield. He's going to defend in the right back. He's going to play in the midfield though. He's going to defend out wide.
Yeah, but with Poch's system, he had even like Eric Dyer just drop in a little bit more towards the center. He's still playing a little bit further back in terms of just defensively handling stuff. And I want him more in the center of the field as a free safety rather than stuck out wide when you have options like we're going to have a Serginho Dest back. We're going to have Tim Weah, who's been playing right back consistently for Juventus. I think, Mike, that's a good shot to put him out there. And with Gio Reyna, I do agree, Nick. I'd rather see him at the 10 than that outside midfield, especially when Musa's done pretty well in that outside midfield role to help out with some of the action in.
I don't like Gio
with that
wide.
out wide area. And I think Gio Reyna just in the center of everything. If you can play him in the center, that's a pretty good option. I also, if you do run with an MMA and have Musa, he's been playing in that system. Tyler Adams has been amazing in a center defensive mid role. And then McKennie's been playing the 10 for Juventus as well. So you have a McKennie and Weah that are almost used to the roles that you might have to push them into. And I think then we go into the attack here, boys. And this is where it gets, I think, the easiest is that you have Pulisic and Sargent. Yeah, pretty much know all of that. And then it's probably just down to, are you playing Weah, Musa, or Reyna out wide? You kind of know that it's one of those three, and you're probably going to shift two of them into the lineup somehow or another. Maybe there's some type of rotation in that, but I mean, is there really another option? I know there's like a Diego Luna option, but I don't see anyone else other than those three. That seems like it's a pretty obvious attack right now.
To me, the big cojones comment is definitely like, I trust this guy in late game situations comment. It's a super sub comment in my opinion. So I think you're right. I don't think Luna's in contention to start. I think honestly, whatever this guy's name is, what's the name of the striker from wherever? Ajimang, yeah, whatever. I think he's closer to starting than Diego Luna is. I think Poch impressed him, and Sargent almost feels like he's there by default. So I don't know.
That seems crazy to say to a guy that's shooting up the championship golden boot leader. After
he's doing what? What is he doing?
Shooting up the golden boot leader.
He's an American.
Violence.
Oh my god. Oh my god! You just can't even talk about Josh Sargent without more and more disrespect. Please, I mean, Josh Sargent definitely deserves to be here. He's been scoring nonstop for Norwich in a Norwich team that is not looking the greatest. He has been potentially the best striker in the championship this year. So excited to see him hopefully get a chance, not have a small knock that takes him out for the billionth time. Panama, there's not that much preview, to be completely honest. It's if the U.S. plays how they should play, they should win. We know by Copa America that doesn't always happen. The U.S. have to play well. They can't get beat by mind games. With that all being said, Nick, what is your score prediction here for USA-Panama?
Yeah, I expect a win. I expect a resolute victory. I expect an emphatic win, and I'm going 4-1 USA.
4-1. All right, Mike. You thinking it's going to be a goal fest like Nick?
4-1's crazy, especially with how well they played us this past summer.
Under Berhalter, though, to be fair.
3-1. That's not
much. How do you say 4-1? That's crazy. Just to go 3-1, you got.
Yeah, Wow.
Fourth goal. That's insane, man. That's disrespect. 3-1 is reasonable. Panama's a solid squad, but we're playing at home. We have the better players. We have Pochettino. Time to do something here. I think 3-1 is definitely doable. If you bomb out here in the semifinals, that's shameful.
Why are you even putting that out there, Mike?
Because it's a possibility.
No, it's not.
What did we do in our last real competition?
You're a traumatized man. It's a new era.
I am traumatized.
Please knock on wood, guys. What the fuck are you guys doing? Have you never
I've been knocking on wood. What are you talking about?
I'm going 2-0 USA. I think it's going to be teetering on the edge of more than that. Cross my fingers, knocking on wood, doing everything I can to make sure I don't jinx it. But I want to see Poach with all these weapons now available. It's looked better camp by camp, even with the January camp. You see kind of system going and people looking better than they do in just regular MLS form. And so I'm excited to see everything kind of all come together here. I think Tyler Ramsey is a big part of what this system can look like with just the amount of pressing and defensive action he does and the intercepting he does, which would leave the final against either Canada or Mexico, Mike. And I think for many years, you would say you don't want to see Mexico. You'd prefer them to get knocked out because they were the biggest rival. Is that still true? Would you rather see Mexico or Jesse Marsh and the Canadians in the final here?
From competition wise, I'd rather see Mexico, but like storyline, we have to see Canada here. Want to beat Jesse Marsh. I like Jesse Marsh. No real problem with him, but dude, we got to shut him up. I mean,
it's some payback for our hockey team, bro.
Yeah, I mean, Canada had a great run in the Copa America. They were the standout team for CONCACAF for sure. And they're super talented. I mean, they have some of the best players in the CONCACAF, if not the best two players in the CONCACAF, along with Mr. Pulisic, obviously. So still focusing on Panama. I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I know you two will, but Canada. Panama.
Asking who we'd rather face if we win.
You literally just said Canada. You are ahead of yourself.
You asked me. You asked me. I gave you an answer, but
you didn't have to.
Nick, do you agree with Mike there? I thought it was a little interesting. He said for the storyline, Canada. I would usually think the storyline is a traditional matchup of USA-Mexico and the gigantic rivalry that is. Is it now? Jesse Marsh snubbed by U.S. soccer previously, the talent that's there. Is it more entertaining of a matchup to face off against Canada now?
I mean, right now, yeah. Make them a 51st state, baby. Let's bring the Kachuk brothers in. Let's flip the coin. We can drop some gloves before the game, and then we can have
the top three players in the CONCACAF.
Jonathan David, save our squad.
Yeah, dude. Come on, brother. I want to see Canada. They're definitely a better team. I think they beat Mexico, and I think that'd be a hell of a final.
Yeah, I think either side. There's some things to look for. Mexico with just a historic rivalry. Canada with that new budding rivalry with, of course, Jesse Marsh as their head coach versus Pochettino. It'll be a good watch here. Thursday night here, March 20th, USA versus Panama. Keep it tuned here for reaction. And, of course, a big final against either Mexico and Canada. With some final words or not. We're in the outro.
Score today.
Cafeteros versus Brazil on Thursday as well. Up los Cafeteros.
We forgot to mention Marlon Fossey. He should have a shot to start it right back.
What hair?
March Madness this week.